it's Mr. I got Lamont here, and we have a really good friend joining us today. We're super, super stoked. Fun fact, did you guys know that by January 19th, most New Year's resolutions go kaput? That's exactly what we're talking about is goals. And Emily, if you can give us a little introduction.
Absolutely. So Eric Whitmoyer is who you're going to be speaking with today, and I have known him. We both have known him for 4 years. I am going into my fourth year of setting goals, and this is a picture of the book here, "Success with Goals," that Eric wrote. Great read, and he's going to talk with you a little bit about that. But just in my experience using this process, I mean, we're really stronger than we think we are. And when you get into a process and you get into that flow and you keep record of it, hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have accomplished so much these past 3 years. And I really, I'm just thankful for having met Eric, and having read his book and learning about how to do this because it's fantastic. And I can't wait for you to talk with him. And let's go ahead and bring him on.
Hey, Eric, thank you for spending the time with us.
Good morning. Welcome. It's good to see you guys again.
Yeah, it's
Nice
been
to
a
see
while, right?
you.
So, Eric, give us a little bit of an introduction, some background into your book, and maybe how you came across writing it and kind of your thought process behind it.
Excellent. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I give you a little bit of background on it. I had an idea. Always had an idea. I wanted to write a book. Just wasn't sure what it was going to be. But I spent 25 years managing sales organizations, and over that time in sales, that's really all you do. You're constantly setting new targets every 30 days to go out and achieve those goals. So, got a lot of practice helping set goals for people, for myself initially, and then helping my different teams manage their goals, manage their expectations, and it not just achieve, but really in most cases blow past the goals that they were setting. And a lot of it came down to some key things that were very necessary in making sure that you consistently get good, steady performance. And so over time, I actually personally went and I looked at the Brian Tracy's and I looked at the Anthony Robbins, and everybody else has got a goal setting program, and I looked at it and I didn't really care for some of the different components. So I tore them all apart and I put them together and I taught that to my team. And over the years, I've just continued to tweak it and revolve it and evolve it. And then about 8 years ago, I met Jack Canfield, and he became one of my mentors. And in that process of developing spending my time with Jack, I had a better understanding of how I wanted to share the information that I had. And that's where the book came from. I got to the point where I was like, this is something I'm really good at. This is something been able to help a lot of people achieve exceptional things in their lives. Something as simple as getting the next promotion, to buying their first home, finding the woman of their dreams. It was starting in their first business. It was all these types of success stories that people were coming away with that they kept sharing with me, and I realized that I was onto something. And so when I came with the idea to write the book, it was about 2015, and it took me about 2 years to write the book. A little bit of a challenge, but ironically, I wrote the book in 2 months.
Oh,
When I
sweet.
really
Okay.
when I really sat down and used my process effectively, I was able to knock out the book in 2 months. What took 2 years was really overcoming my fears and objections and all the things that were
Mm.
going through my head, which an effective goal setting process, when you use it, will help you do that, because it gives you the confidence to know what you're going to do next and lead you through that path that you go through. So I came up with the 10 steps of achieving your goals, and that's what I put together in a book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Emily and I, we've known Eric for what, 4 years now, 5 years
that's
now, and you've been running through his book for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I do. I read it every year. January is always the time when I set my goals, and or leading up to January is when I do a refresher. And I really am in the process of working towards a BHAG, I'm working on a book too. And so Eric has been just a great role model for me to talk with and, just go back to that book again and again. But let's touch on a BHAG. Do you guys know what that is? Let's have Eric tell you about BHAGs.
All right. Well, I can't steal the credit for it. I didn't come up with the idea. It actually was in a book called Built to Last by Jim Collins. And in that, I was introduced to the concept. It was written in '95, so the concept been around for a while. And in the sales arena, that's a very common thing to kind of focus on. What's my BHAG? Which it's an acronym for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Hence the fact we use the acronym. But the idea is with a BHAG, like anything in life, if you're just going after something, and let me set this up. If you're going to go for something and you want to do something that you're ambitious about, and you're just this is everything you've ever wanted. If you can remember a time in your life where there's something you wanted so badly that it was just you just had to have it, but it scared the snot out of you. Okay, that's a BHAG. Big, hairy, audacious goal. It should scare the snot out of you. If you feel like, that I no idea how I'm going to do this, but I want to do it, that's a BHAG. Now, here's the key about setting goals and achieving goals. If you set a goal and you just kind of want it, the likelihood of you achieving that goal is not very good at all. It's pretty much nil. If it's just something you'd like to have, or somebody, worse yet, somebody wants it for you, it's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, that's why I don't remember this specific statistic, but it's well over 80% of the people who set New Year's resolutions have already given up by January 19th, as Monsieur mentioned earlier. So the reality is that the reason people fall short is because they're not that ambitious about it. It's just something it would be nice to have. I'd like to lose 20 pounds. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. It can't be a like to. It's very much got to be, I want this with everything I've got. And a BHAG is so big and so audacious that you're just like, this is a game changer, life changing kind of goal.
So how do you develop a BHAG then? What's the process for kind of creating that audacious goal?
It's a good question. So when you get to so you look at your goals and you say, okay, this is something I want to accomplish. And a BHAG, to be fair, a BHAG is not something you're going to generally accomplish in a year. Certainly not something you're going to accomplish in a quarter. It'll be a sequence of goals that you'll achieve over a period of time. But a BHAG would be something like, I want to build $100 million a year business. And when you're standing at zero, in revenue, and you say, I want to build $100 million a year business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is way out there. And, certainly it scares you in a sense. And honestly, if people look at you and tell you you're crazy, you're probably looking at a BHAG.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, it's BHAGs are, out there, like Monsieur was reaching, like very out there, and it's almost just beyond your reach, right? And things come up. I mean, life is crazy. Life is life. So how do you stay focused on that BHAG and avoid distractions?
So first of all, for instance, in my 10-step process, which I actually introduced an 11th step that I call the free step, but it's developing your life purpose, which is a subtitle on my book. So it's success with goals, designing your life with purpose. And the key component to that was, there's lots of people that talk about setting goals, but the challenge is, and this goes back to that concept that I said, it has to be something you really, really are ambitious about. And another big problem that people have with setting goals is if they don't tie the goal directly to something that they are not just passionate about, but actually has to align with their values, your value systems. And so if the goals are not in alignment with your values, for instance, if you're somebody who's very concerned about the world in general and people having a fair opportunity to achieve things and things like that, and they're not necessarily driven by money, but you set a goal to make $1 million a year, again, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because realistically, it's not in alignment with your value system. So it kind of comes back to this concept of, when you're asked about, you know, how do I stay on my path? You have to break it down to just one goal. You have to have what I call your number one breakthrough goal. So you know, the concept of, you know, you make multiple goals. Yes, you can. I can lose some weight. I can do this. I can do this. But there has to be only one goal that gets the vast majority of my time and attention every day. And then I
Sure.
set down a series of action items that I'll focus on, and I'll do those things, and I commit to those things. I call it the rule of five. Every day you'll take 5 steps towards that goal each and every day. No weekend off. I mean, it's literally every day you take 5 things towards that goal, and you just keep progressing towards that. But knowing what those 5 things are is really most of the battle, because if you don't know what to do, then human nature is, if I don't know what to do next, I don't do anything. I just freeze.
And you know, when
Right.
we originally first met, Eric, it was in a real estate community. That was when we originally first met, and one of the things that that they talked about, or we talked about, was having those specific income producing activities, right? So you can kind of forget all the other stuff that you need to do, and focus on these particular items that were income producing activities, and that's kind of to your point of having the exact 5 things that you need to focus on, right?
Absolutely. And it also helps with the idea of, as I mentioned, it took me 2 years to kind of get the book, you know, and then it took me 2 months to actually write it. It's the same concept what we ran into with real estate investing. A lot of people don't pull the trigger and do the investment because their head gets in the way.
Yeah,
They're
100%.
so worried about, well, what if this and what if that and what if this. If you just focus on those 3 or 4 or 5 income producing activities every day, stuff will just happen. And that's where I talk about in my book. There's a concept of the momentum principle. And once you begin to take steps over time to achieve your different goals, the momentum builds and compounds on itself. And consequently, what things just happen that you didn't expect to happen.
Yeah,
For instance,
100% true.
you'll be talking to somebody that you mentioned, hey, this is something I'm doing. And they're like, wow, well, I actually know somebody that could help you with that. And they're
And
like,
that goes back to, kind of a way to avoid distractions. One of the things that you talk about that I've ingrained in my life is having an accountability partner, right? And so having someone to kind of bounce that off of really provides a sounding board, and in a way where someone can help you achieve, getting through those obstacles, right? Like, I talk to my friend Rhonda literally once a week, every Thursday afternoon, and we talk for an hour consistently, and that's my accountability partner, in order to kind of we bounce things off of each other and be able to do that, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And that's a phenomenal resource, because especially if it's somebody who doesn't take any BS from you, because you will lie to yourself. You will lie to yourself and give yourself excuses on why not to do certain things that you should be doing. But an accountability partner, a strong accountability partner, will hold you accountable to that. So last week you said you were going to do these 5 things, Monsieur. Did you get them done?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a good accountability partner will help hold you to that. And that's the beauty of that
Feet to
relationship.
the
And
fire.
consequently, you then do the same thing. It's a reciprocal relationship. You do the same for them as well.
And accountability partners don't necessarily work the same as like mentors or coaches, right? It's a
No,
little bit different in that regard. So
right.
can you kind of explain a little bit of that relationship differences between the two?
Yeah. And there's different types of even accountability partners. Quite honestly, there's what I would call like a cheerleader accountability partner, who's just kind of
Okay.
there to celebrate you on, clap for you, give you the high fives and all that kind of stuff. They may not necessarily be content driven. They may not have solutions for you and make suggestions for you,
Mm,
but they're the first person you want to call when you have a big breakthrough in achieving that goal,
mhm.
because you know that you're going to get that euphoric moment of, oh wow, I feel awesome. I got to tell Monsieur that I just
Right.
got this done today, And so, but that's one type, and the other one is, like I referenced, somebody who's really good at problem solving. And so you're kind of stuck on something and you're working through it, and you bounce some ideas, and you may say something, they say something else, and nothing really clicks. And eventually, over a series of conversations, it comes together, and you're like, ooh, what if we did this? And through
Mhm.
that conversation, 30 minutes to an hour or whatever, you come up with the best solution you could possibly think of, because it's coming from different perspectives.
That makes sense.
So it's more of the accountability partner, and a mentor is absolutely. So a mentor is typically somebody, almost exclusively somebody, who has already done what you're trying to do. And that's what's a little bit different than an accountability partner. Accountability partner may not have achieved those goals, whereas a mentor already has and can give you a path and share with you, these are the things that this is how I did this is how I did this. And their path may not be exactly the path that you follow, but they're able to help you in those sticking points when you're stuck. And the challenge is, not everybody's able to get the right kind of mentor, depending on what it is they're trying to achieve, especially if you're doing something that you don't know anybody who's ever done that before. So then you have to find it through other sources. So for instance, a mentor could simply be somebody's book you read. One of my favorite things to do is actually read books by very influential people. And that's actually how I came to meet Jack. I read Jack's book, The Success Principles, and in the process of doing that, I was turned on to a program that he was coaching, and I became a student of that. And then through becoming a student, now I wanted to become an instructor of that process. So literally for me, and this is a path that I didn't see in this path of trying to write a book, I didn't see this all playing out, but I became a certified instructor for his Success Principles, which accelerated my book writing path, because now not only was I with somebody who is one of the most recognized authors of all time, he has the Guinness Book World Record for the most books sold, but in addition to that, whole group of the group of people that I was interacting with, there was tons of published authors. So I literally put myself in a group of people that I wanted to associate with, and I had tons of resources.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So you really, I feel, have kind of already answered the final question that I wanted you to discuss. But it sounds like building that network, really being around the influential people that you want to achieve similar accomplishments.
Right.
What other tips do you have to share? I mean, we're real estate investors, and everybody starts at different places. We started very bootstrap, so everybody's on different income levels. Books.
Do you remember our first deal, Emily? Do you remember how scared we were when we first got our first deal, and we made away with it, right? But just to kind of go back and think about the importance of the mentors that we had at that time, and the education and the support network that was built around that was like so amazing, right? And so just to kind of go back through and touch on Eric's point as far as the importance of mentorship and accountability partners, they're kind of two different things, and the fact of accountability partners can help you get through that, but the mentorship really gives you that comfortable feeling of knowing that you can kind of get through that because somebody else has done it, right?
Right.
And so building that just, go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I was just back to the point I was making is, everybody kind of starts at different places. And so you're growing into a process. I mean, if you're starting reading books, great, YouTube, things like this. But growing into the process of really connecting with the coach, I think, is also a benefit to having accountability partners and doing a lot of your own research. So if someone's looking to learn more information or kind of lay out that pathway, what kind of recommendations do you have for the audience?
So yeah, you mentioned that, and one of the most important things is the internet. And I hate to just kind of drop it like that, but that the internet is such an unbelievable resource. When you want to find information, if you like anything, after you do it for some time, you'll find an even more effective way to find the information you're looking for. You could Google search just about anything, but if you're really good at it, over time you find like really extensive information. Pretty amazing when you look at it from that perspective. You mentioned YouTube. I'm a huge YouTube fan right now. The last probably 2 or 3 years, and more specifically in 2020, during the pandemic, I spent hours on YouTube. And so consequently, I'm actually developing a YouTube channel to go along with my Life Mastery brand. So for me, I see it as there's tons of mentor type opportunities to leverage people who have information or some subset of content that you're looking to achieve to gain. And that's a phenomenal way to do that. Coach, mentor, it kind of go hand in hand. Typically in a coach scenario, you're paying for that service, but the coach is as much accountability partner as they are somebody who has the knowledge and an understanding on how to help you achieve the things you want to achieve. A mentor may or may not be something who's paid. Typically they're not, but a coach is. And I speak about that in the book, by the way. I talk about accountability partners, mentors, and coaches. A coach is somebody you're paying for to hold you accountable and help you achieve those goals. And it's funny that you mentioned that earlier, because one of the things that I've experienced, both in my professional career as well as in my personal life, you guys, I think you know that I used to be a professional kickboxer, and for years, I used to believe I can do everything myself. Mm-hmm. What was ironic is when I thought back, when I was a professional kickboxer, I had coaches for everything. Mm-hmm. I had a diet coach, I had a weight training coach, I had a boxing coach, I had a kicking coach. I literally had different coaches for all the different disciplines that made me a successful kickboxer. And so consequently, and you see this in the professional world in athletics all the time, they have different coaches for all these different components that are important, that bring their skill set together. And the people in the everyday life, in their corporate environment, their business, their real estate investing, real estate agents, if they're smart, they're plugging into groups where they can share best practices and learn different information. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, but join different associations and things like that. But finding a coach is a game changer in many cases. Finding the right coach is a little bit more difficult and takes some time. Mm-hmm. Okay, I also talk about the book, and I encourage people to read that, because you want to find somebody that you relate with and you can build a good, trusting relationship with. And if you do that, then what you'll get out of that will be phenomenal. But the ways to go about finding the information, it's out there. But if you want to shortcut the process and you want to get there quickly, the best thing you can do is get somebody who's already done it. And I mean, that's the first thing I learned from Jack, is get somebody who's already done it and then just kind of ride their coattails and take in all the you can from them.
I mean, and I can resonate with that too, because we've learned through the years, right, of in a multitude of different mediums, whether it is YouTube or books or other mentors, and we've built our course the same way in that regard, because we know what we needed in order for us to get to our point. And we want to be able to provide that to other people as well, and kind of provide a shortcut in that regard. And that made a huge difference in our momentum, for sure. And even to this day, we have coaches. We have a business coach, we have a strategic coach, we have a real estate coach, all of that stuff the same way in the different forms as well.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. But, I think most importantly, and so thankfully, we were able to build our network. Eric is really a key part of our network. And, just to tie it up, I think we're at the end of our time here. But, I think we've shared a lot of different examples of who and how and what to build that network. And, we're just, again, so thankful that Eric, you're part of our network, and we'll turn it to you for some closing remarks.
Eric, how can people find you? Where can they find you?
Appreciate that. Let me give you one last tidbit. Most people don't want to share their goals. Can either of you guess why that might be?
They don't want to be held accountable.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to be held accountable per se, but they don't want to put it out there and be judged. So in a sense of being held accountable. But the challenge with that is, and this is where there's a huge opportunity, and you guys both mentioned it to one degree or another. The reality is, when you put things out there in the universe, and I'm a big person who I believe in that extensively, you put things out in the universe, typically, and they've done scientific studies that show that things come back to you. Basically, what you do is you activate there's in your brain, you basically tune yourself into the things that you're looking for. Your brain starts to look specifically for the things that you want to find. The reticular activating system is a portion of the brain that actually looks for what you need to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So when you start telling people what you want to accomplish, subconsciously you're cementing in your head where you're going and what you want to accomplish, what that number one goal is that you're trying to achieve. And by sharing it with other people, you get new ideas, different ideas. And so, but if you don't share those goals, and you try and keep them in and protect them and hide them from people, you're really limiting the options that you can actually uncover and the opportunities that you can create for yourself to find new ways, because you may design a path to achieve your goal and you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to do that. Well, I can tell you that 95% of the time, that's not how you're going to achieve that goal. If it's any sizable goal, if we're talking about BHAGs, there is no way in the world you're going to know every little step you need to do to achieve that goal. So realistically, you've got to put it out there. You've got to find, and you got to be creative in the way that you achieve that goal. You may start on one particular path and you're going to course correct as you go. So you have to constantly review your goals. So the other tip I would leave, you can't just make a New Year's resolution and then write it off, because you'll be in that 80+% that's done by the 19th. You've got to constantly evaluate your goals literally every day and think about what are those 5 things that I need to do each day to get me to where I want to go. So my company's name is Life Mastery Programs. I published a book under Success with Goals under my original brand, which is EricWhitmoyer.com. I partnered up with some friends of mine, and we're putting together phenomenal content where we talk about leadership and goal setting and how to create effective visions, how to be a better leader, communications, all that kind of stuff. And so goal setting is just the very first piece of it, and it just continues to build off of goal setting. So that's I appreciate that. It's been a great time with you guys today, and it's always good catching up with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. We put a bunch of your course content in our course material as well. So that'll be helpful for anybody that going through it. They can kind of align themselves in the real estate realm. But thank you, Eric. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom. Emily, final words?
No, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming.
Thanks again. Appreciate it.